Dear students, welcome to our YouTube channel Vidya for Success. Yes, in this video, let us continue our discussion on animal breeding. So, what are the things we studied in our last video? So, we discussed about inbreeding, and there we understood that continuous breeding of animal within the relative leads to inbreeding depression because new varieties of organisms are not forming there. So the continuous inbreeding leads to inbreeding depression. That means the fertility you get reduces, productivity also get reduces, and that condition is nothing but inbreeding depression. Is it possible to overcome from the inbreeding depression? Is there any solution? Yes, that solution is nothing but outbreeding. So instead of making the animals to breed within the relative, so they are at least allowed to breed with unrelated animals. So when they are allowed to mate with the unrelated animals, it is possible to overcome from the inbreeding depression. So that method is known as outbreeding. So what do you mean by outbreeding? Outbreeding is the breeding of unrelated animals. So the parents what are selected for breeding are not related with one another. So outbreeding is nothing but outside the breed. Breeding is done out between different breed or between unrelated animals. So that kind of breeding is named as outbreeding. So in the outbreeding, we have different types based on exactly from which breed the parents, two parents are selected. Whether the two parents are selected from the same breed or they are selected from the different breed or from the different species, based on this outbreeding is divided into different types. So let us see the first type. So the first one is outcrossing. What do you mean by outcrossing? So in case of outcrossing, the mating is done between the animals belong to the same breed. So from the same breed, they are selecting both the parents. That means superior male as well as superior female. Both are selected from the same breed, but those two are not related to one another. That means they are not having common ancestors for 4 to 5 generation, so that they are unrelated animals. So those two superior animals, parents, are mated with each other in order to get the superior progeny. Clear? So the superior progeny is produced here as a result of crossing between unrelated animal. So because the parents are selected within the same breed, this type of outbreeding is named as outcrossing. So crossing is done between the two parents, unrelated parents belong to the same breed. So they are not having common ancestor at least for 4 to 5 generation. So this kind of outbreeding is named as outcrossing. So what is the use of outcrossing? So here we are selecting the animals from the same breed, right? But they are unrelated. They are not sharing the common ancestors. Clear? So this crossing, this type of crossing help to overcome from inbreeding depression. So instead of allowing the animal to mate with the relatives, they are at least allowed to mate with the unrelated animal belong to the same breed. So this kind of crossing help to overcome from inbreeding depression because they are exposed with the different genotype. So because of this outcross help to overcome from inbreeding depression. So at least some variation can be seen in the offspring. So this will be helpful for overcoming from inbreeding depression. Clear? So this is the advantage of outcrossing. Then the one more type of breeding is crossbreeding. So, what do you mean by crossbreeding? Here, the parents are selected from two different breeds. So, in the outcrossing, we have seen the parents are selected from the same breed, but they are not related. But in case of crossbreeding, the two superior parents are selected from different breeds. So the superior male is selected from one breed and superior female is selected from the another breed. So those two superior parents are mated in order to produce progeny. So the progeny obtained will be combination of two different breeds, because we know that each of the breed consists of group of animal. So all the animal belonging to the one breed, they are sharing similar characteristic feature. They appears to be same, their size and configuration will be of same type. But if you compare the one breed with the another breed, we can see some of the differences. They may be different in their appearance and characteristic feature. So when the progeny is obtained by the crossing of animal belonging to two different breed, the progeny obtained will be the combination of two different breeds. That means it having the characteristic feature of both the breeds, because it is receiving some characters from the male parent and some character from the female parent, so that this is a combination of two different breeds, so that both the qualities we can see in one progeny. So this is what the advantage of crossbreeding. So one of the example can be seen in the crossbreeding is Izardale. So Izardale is a breed of sheep. This is actually developed in Punjab. So what are the parents selected in order to raise the Izardale sheep? The parents are nothing but Bicanary Aves and Merino Rams. So Bicanary Aves is one breed of sheep and Merino Rams is the another breed of sheep. So in the sheep, what qualities we will look into while breeding is the amount of wool they produces, and they should be disease resistant, and they should get adjust to the particular climatic condition, and that should also give a good amount of milk. So these are the qualities they will look in the parents before they are going to select. So that Bicanary Aves is one breed. So from that breed they will select one parent, superior parent, and Merino Rams is the another breed. So from that breed they will select the another parent. So both the superior parents are crossed in order to produce a progeny. That progeny raised is named as Izardale. So Izardale is the new breed of sheep that consist of both the breed character. So some of the character what can be seen in the Bicanary Aves, that is that can be seen in the Izardale, and some characters present in the Merino Rams also can be seen in the Izardale, because it is having the mixture of character. Understood? So this is what called as cross breeding. So in case of cross breeding, the two superior parents selected from two different breeds. So one superior male selected from one breed and superior female selected from the another breed. So as a result of that, progeny will be obtained. That progeny is actually the combination of two different breed. So that kind of breeding we are calling as crossbreeding. So the one thing you have to remember here is the example. So the name of the organism obtained as a result of crossbreeding is Izardale. So this is actually a new breed of sheep. So the third type of outbreeding is interspecific hybridization. So in case of interspecific hybridization, the crossing is done between unrelated animal. So the male parent and female parent of two related species are mated. That means the male parent is selected from one species and female parent is selected from the another species. So we already know about this species. So when we are considering group of animal as a single species, those organisms are sharing similar characteristic feature. But if you compare the animal belonging to the another species, they are not much related. That means we can see minor differences. In the appearance they will be different, and in the genotype they will be different. So when we are comparing the organism belong to the one species with the another species, we can notice the major dissimilarities. In case of interspecific hybridization, the parents selected from two different species. So as a result of mating of two parents, the progeny will be obtained. So that progeny may combine the desirable features of both the parents. So the progeny obtained is named as hybrid progeny, because the parents what were used here is belong to two different species. They are not sharing the similar characteristic feature. Understood? So the best example of interspecific hybridization is mule. So mule is the progeny obtained, hybrid progeny. It is obtained by the crossing male donkey with the female donkey. So we know that donkey is one species and horse is another species. Both are not belong to the same species. So the female horse and the male donkey is selected as a parent here. So as a result of mating, these two animals belong to the two different species, the hybrid animal will be obtained, that is named as mule. So mule got the character from both the parent. So it is showing few characteristic features like horse, as well as it is having some characters like donkey. So mule is the best example of hybrid animal of interspecific hybridization. But this is not a fertile one. Mule is a infertile animal. This is not able to produce future progeny. So that mule is a infertile progeny. Yes, so far whatever the breeding methods we have discussed, those are falls under natural breeding methods, because the male and female animals are mated to produce the progeny. So it may be inbreeding or outbreeding, they all falls under natural breeding methods, because the male and female parents are mated to produce the offspring. So that kind of breeding is called as a natural breeding. So here we have artificial breeding. So artificial breedings are nothing but controlled breeding experiments. So why they are called as controlled breeding experiments? So the animal breeding actually controlled by some of the experiments. So one such example of experiment is artificial insemination. So here the insemination is done artificially. So not the male and female parents are mated to produce the progeny. So instead of that, the semen is artificially injected into the female animal. So because of this, it is called as artificial insemination. So how they will do this artificial insemination? So semen is collected from the male animal. That means they will collect the semen from bull, and that is injected into the female reproductive tract. And this method is called as artificial insemination. So the female animal is selected by the breeder, and the collected semen is directly injected into the reproductive tract of the female. So this is what called as artificial insemination. So this is a controlled breeding. So whenever we want to get the good breed from the animal, we can collect the semen from the bull and we can inject into the female reproductive tract to achieve the breeding. So that is why it is called as artificial insemination. So here the semen can be used immediately, or it can be frozen and used later. So this is very useful, because immediately we can use the collected semen in this case, or if the male animal is not available in the particular place, in that case we can carry the salmon collected from the some region to use for the breeding, so that the frozen salmon can be used in the later date. So whenever we require the salmon, the frozen salmon can be used again. So this is one advantage of artificial insemination, because in some of the region the good quality bull will not be available. So yeah, in some cases it is actually not possible to control the bull. So in such a case, this artificial breeding experiments will be very useful, so that we can collect the salmon from the bull and we can inject immediately into the female, or we can use the frozen salmon in the later date. And it is also helpful to overcome several problems of normal mating. So as I told, sometime it is impossible to control the male animal. So bull is very aggressive in nature, so it will create some problem during the mating. So such a problem can be overcome by the artificial insemination. And it is also useful when the good quality bull is not available in some of the area. So instead of carrying the bull from one place to another place, we can easily collect the semen and we can use it in the another place for the breeding experiment. So these are a few advantages what are getting by the artificial insemination. Is the one more controlled breeding experiment is MOET. So what do you mean by MOET? MOET is nothing but multiple ovulation embryo transfer technique. So in this case, they inject the female cattle with the hormone. So when the hormone is actually administered into the female cattle, it will promote the super ovulation. So instead of forming one egg, the female cattle produces 6 to 8 number of egg, because the hormone consists of FSH activity. So because of that activity, super ovulation takes place. So instead of forming one egg, the female cattle produces 6 to 8 number of egg. That is called as super ovulation. So after the super ovulation, the next step is insemination. So how the insemination is achieved? What is meant by insemination? Insemination is nothing but introduction of semen into the female reproductive tract. So it can be achieved naturally or can be artificially. So either the female cattle mated with the male cattle, or the collected semen can be introduced into the female reproductive tract. So after insemination, the fertilization of egg takes place. So all 6 to 8 egg, they fertilizes in the female reproductive tract. So what happens after the fertilization? The fertilized egg will start its development and it reaches 8 to 32 cell stage. And in that stage, we are calling that as a embryo. So in the female cattle, nearly 6 to 8 embryos will be there. And what they will do after the embryo formation is, they will recover all the embryo from the mother, from the cattle. And those recovered embryos are again transferred into the one more female cattle. And the female cattle what is receiving the embryo is called as surrogate mother. You can see in the diagram, the embryos are recovered from the genetic mother. So genetic mother is the one who actually raised the multiple ovules, and the embryos recovered from the genetic mother is transferred into the surrogate mother. So surrogate mother is the one who is receiving the embryo from the genetic mother. And like this, all the recovered embryos are transferred into the surrogate mothers. So this is very helpful, because this technique increases the productivity with quality in a short time. So within a short period of time, we can increase the number of animals, because instead of forming the one egg, the animal, because of the super ovulation, it produced 6 to 8 egg, and after the embryo formation they all recovered and they all transferred into surrogate mother. So nearly 8 to 7 to 8 surrogate mothers are received those embryos. So because of this, within a short period of time, the number of animals can be increased. So these two methods are commonly used in the technique. So multiple ovulation and embryo transfer. Multiple ovulation is nothing but formation of multiple eggs, and soon after the formation of embryo, they are recovered from the genetic mother and they are transferred into the surrogate mother. So this will help to increase the number of herd size within a short period of time. So it can be done in different kinds of animals, domesticated animals. For example, in sheep, rabbit, buffalo, and in cattle it is commonly done. So actually in the MOET, they will select the parents having these following characters. So they will select the high milk yielding breed of female and high quality meat yielding bull have been bred to increase the number of herd size. So herd size can be increased within a short period of time by multiple ovulation embryo transfer technique. So we have studied the two controlled breeding experiments. One is MOET and another one is artificial insemination.